98 FM. Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And good morning from Adrian Kennedy. How are you this morning? I hope everything is good with you. It is Wednesday, the 6th day of May 2020, and we're here until midday today. And as always, an awful lot of stuff to get through between now and midday today. All right, so I do hope you can stay with us. And as always, on this programme, we deal with everything and anything surrounding our current COVID-19 crisis here in Ireland. And we will continue to do that for the duration. So, as I said to you before, if there is anything relating to the lives that we're leading at the moment that you want to bring up on the programme, please get in contact with us, as hundreds of you are every day, I have to say. All you have to do is send us an email to dublintalks@98fm.com, dublintalks@98fm.com, or send us a private message through our Facebook page at facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. First off on the programme, though, a Dublin man who lost his daughter to a brain tumour is hoping to mark the anniversary of his daughter's passing tomorrow. It's her 5th anniversary. Mia sadly passed away on the 7th of May 2015. However, this dad is not happy that he may not be able to visit her graveside tomorrow due to the COVID-19 lockdown restrictions tomorrow. He went down to Glasnevin yesterday and was told that the best that they could do for him is take a bunch of flowers off him and place them on her grave for him. Now, he claims that he'll be visiting his daughter's grave tomorrow regardless. And we'll find out why in just a moment. Specifically for Glasnevin Cemetery, and I know this is an issue for some cemeteries, but not for all cemeteries. Glasnevin Cemetery say on their website that due to the ongoing COVID-19 situation, access to Glasnevin Cemetery is currently limited to funerals and cremations only. So in other words, no visiting. And this will be the time of year as well where they will be due to hold the blessings of the graves, which I assume is not taking place this year. Are you in a similar situation? Have you a family member buried in a graveyard that is not open to visitors? I know, as I said, this is a sporadic thing. In some graveyards you can visit, in others you can't. But certainly in Glasnevin, which is one of the city's biggest graveyards, you cannot just visit unless you happen to be attending a funeral or a cremation. Send us a WhatsApp voice note right now to 0877 98 98 98 0877 98 98 98. I'd like to find out from you if you're being affected by this and the sort of impact that can have, because I know for some people visiting a loved one's grave is part of your weekly routine. A lot of people tend to graves on a weekly basis, some every second day. So this has to have a major impact on you if you have not been able to visit your loved one's grave. And as I said, specifically in this instant, we're talking about Glasnevin Cemetery. If you're affected by this, send me a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98 0877 98 98 98. The man I'm about to talk to, you may remember being on this show late last year, before Christmas, because he is a bus driver who dressed up as Santa to raise money. And he was very successful. He worked for Go Ahead, and the company allowed him to do a fundraiser dressing as Santa Claus back before Christmas. Anyway, his name is Ernie and he joins me on the line. Good morning, Ernie, and welcome back to 98 FM.
Good morning, Adrian.
Ernie, for people who may not remember your story, tell me a little bit about your little girl, Mia.
Well, Mia was a young child, and basically, like any other parent, they like to have kids and bring the kids up and rear their kids and to the best they can. But we have, myself and Siobhan have 5 kids. We have 4 now. Unfortunately, Mia passed away, but we always have 5. But it was when it was how we found the complications was with Mia when Mia was getting when she was doing her getting christened. Sorry, when she was getting christened, basically her eyes weren't focusing and they were kind of very puffy, and we knew straight away there was something wrong. But I never forget the day I was working in the place over Ballyferm as an assistant network instructor. And basically, Siobhan brought the Mia to the local doctor down Finglas, and basically, basically what happened was, Adrian, he was basically treating for a viral infection and sending her home with that yellow medicine. And basically, things weren't getting any better. So Siobhan went back down again about a week or two later, and he had to call for another doctor to come in for assistance, and he measured the compass of her head. And her head was basically 2 times the size what it should be. But he told Siobhan, my partner, to rush her into Temple Hospital, and basically she rushed her into Temple Hospital. He done a CT scan and a lung puncture, and basically he said something else serious here. So he sent her down for an MRI under anaesthetic. And basically the MRI came back saying there was a cloud on the brain. Now at this stage I was still at work, and at the time, Adrian, I wasn't driving, I was on a push bike, and my brother-in-law flew across to Ballyferm and picked me up and flew me into Temple Hospital. But when I went to Temple Hospital, me was basically transferred to the theatre to get under local anaesthetic to get the MRI. And basically a couple of days later we were called to our room, and basically then we were told that it was a lot more serious than it was, and we were told there was a cloud in the brain. I said to the doctor, like, what do you mean by a cloud? You have to be a bit more specific here. Like, this is a child that you're talking about, like a cloud, it could be anything. I said, like, he said, well, basically he said, we can't do nothing until we do a biopsy. So they done a biopsy, Adrian, and me went under a big operation. And you have to think about it. If you go through your ear, Adrian, and then through the centre of your skull, go down, and that's where basically the tumour was. So it was very deep into her skull. And they said that it couldn't be removed. If it had been removed, it would have been serious. We could possibly lose her, or she could be brain dead or brain damaged, you know. But basically, he said the best we did was do a biopsy to see what it is. They went and done a biopsy, Adrian. After me going through what she went through, they didn't get what they wanted. Okay. So basically, they put me under all that pain and all that for nothing, because they came out with nothing. So we wanted answers out of the doctor saying, we said, listen, this could happen. This could happen. Like, you could do 100 days, you might happen 10 of them. You don't, like. He said, well, sorry and all the whole lot. So he said, listen, we have to do it again. I know he wasn't having the bar of it at this stage. So we said, listen, we have to do it. So we done it. And the second time they done it, he came back, and it was aggressive brain tumour. They basically said what an adult would have. So then we were transferred to Our Lady's Hospital in Crumlin, where she went under several rounds of chemotherapy, you know. And we were told to expect the worst. I mean, it was only she's only a couple of weeks old at this stage, Adrian, you know. She was no more than 2 months old, you know. But
she battled bravely for a long time.
Yeah, she battled for 5 years, and what she went through was phenomenal. I mean, like, he'd been out to Our Lady's Hospital. Myself and Siobhan had been out to Our Lady's Hospital in Crumlin, and she'd be a live wire going over. And as soon as she get that drug into her, she's just helpless, you know. She's just like, she could get, like, we had to sit in the back row with a bag, and she'd be puking everywhere, you know, because of this drug, and you know, and then they had to put dye into her and all to check our blood cells and everything, you know. But
and as I said, Ernie, sadly, after a very long battle, 5 years ago tomorrow, your little girl passed away.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you something now, Adrian. While I'm on air, I'm going to say this. I have never ever told anyone this story, but I'm going to tell you on air now. I was in Our Lady's Hospital one day in Crumlin, and when we walk in to the ward, St. John's ward of Crumlin Hospital, we go to a hatch and pick up Maid's file. Now, I can clearly tell you, Maid's file was about 3 or 4 books, phone books big. It was that big, Adrian. And one day I was flicking through mate's files to see what was everything about. And basically I came across a letter what any parent would read to read. And it was the doctor that me was under in Air Ages Hospital, gone to a doctor in Canada. And he basically sent me his files to this doctor. And the doctor wrote back, this child's not going to survive. And that's the gospel truth. I never, ever, from that day to this day, I never told anyone that.
That must be horrific to see that.
I'm here now in Adrian. So I'm letting everyone know here now and there. That is one story I never told anyone.
That must have been devastating to read that.
I was fitly tired, Adrian. Fitly tired. You know? And that is the gospel truth. I swear as me is in heaven, I never ever told anyone that story.
Let me ask you then, Ernie. Tomorrow is, like we said, Mia's 5th anniversary. She passed away on the 7th of May, 2015. Yeah. And for anybody in a situation like this, you mark the day of somebody's anniversary, particularly with a child, by visiting their graveside, sitting by their graveside, talking to them, saying some prayers, whatever you want to do. And that is what you want to do tomorrow, but herein lies the problem.
Basically, I can't go down. Like there last year, Adrian, we all went to Woody's there across the road in Glasnevin Industrial Estate, and we bought balloons. And I remember last year we bought a big massive princess balloon, and we're walking down towards the graveyard of the princess balloon. Now the balloon was 20-something euros, but the balloon hit up a tree in the bus stage in, and we went back and bought another one. And went back down to the graveyard. But we tied the balloon onto my headstone, and we all sit down, and the whole lot of my family sit down, and we all take photographs and that upload the balloons. But tomorrow's not the case. I rang up Glasnevin yesterday, and I wasn't being anywhere near England, but I rang, and I was basically on the phone. I says, hello, how are you? I'm just inquiring. I says, is open? And she says, no. So I said, I have a loved one buried down there in Glasnevin. I says, any chance I could go down, even with appointment? And she says, no. But she said, what I could do with you is, if you give me the grave number, I'll be able to meet you at the front gate and bring down a bunch of flowers. And I said, no, thank you, but thanks for the offer. And I said, under my breath, I'll make my own way down tomorrow. And I will make the own way down. And I'm breaking an entrance tomorrow. And I'm going in, I'm going to sit down at a grave, I'm going to go live on Facebook for my family to see it. And I'm going to sit there. If anyone comes to move me, I'm not going to move. But if the police start coming to move, I won't be moving, because at the end of the day, I'm not doing any harm. I'm sitting there with a loved one that I lost. So I am going down tomorrow. I'm not going down yesterday, and I know what route I'm taking.
Okay, now the cemetery themselves say on their website that due to the ongoing COVID-19 situation, access to Glasnevin Cemetery is currently limited to funerals and cremations only. And you were told as much yesterday, and you were told we'll take a bunch of flowers from you and we'll place it on her grave if you have the grave number.
Yeah, that's basically what I was told yesterday. But I can't understand it, Adrian. The hardest town is open.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Lucan is open. I've done my homework in this, Adrian. There's loads. Like, there's Stevens Green for a day. Jammed to the rafters with people. Sitting no more than 2 meters away from each other. There's the Phoenix Park is open. There's all public. Phoenix Park is the biggest park in Europe. And that's open to the public.
Oh, sorry, Ernie, we're losing you there.
Have you got me there now, Adrian?
Yeah, go on, yep.
Yeah, I said there's no difference with Glasnevin Graveyard and the Phoenix Park. Phoenix Park is the biggest park in Europe, and it's open to the environment. Exact same as Glasnevin Graveyard. We're out in the environment. We're not sitting on top of each other, breathing all over each other.
The bit I don't understand, now I know Glasnevin Cemetery would be particularly full, if you know what I mean, and very dense graves, the way the graves are laid out in the cemetery. It's very, very dense. I don't know if that is the reason, and we've reached out to Glasnevin, and all we got was the statement on their website saying Glasnevin Cemetery is currently limited to funerals and cremations only. But that's no good to you, because you want to go and visit your daughter's graveside tomorrow for her 5th anniversary.
Yeah, I want to go tomorrow. I will be going tomorrow. I will be down there tomorrow morning, and I will guarantee you that 100%. I will be down there tomorrow morning.
Are you worried about being moved on, about being told to get out?
No. I'm going down there and I'm going to sit down there at her grave. If anyone comes, tell them to me, I'm going to ask them the reason why I get them out. If the police come, I'm going to say, hang on a minute, guard. I said, that's my daughter there. What would you do if that was your daughter? Bet you anyone would do the exact same thing. I mean, I know I'm breaking an end today, Adrian.
Yes.
I'm not damaging anything.
Okay, but you already know, and it's a huge cemetery, let's be honest, but you already know how you're going to get in, how you're going to get to her graveside. And
I'm about 2 kilometres to get to, about 1.5 kilometres to get to her graveside.
Okay, but you know how you're going to get into the graveyard. Now, obviously, we're not encouraging you to break and enter and whatever, but I think anybody listening, even the authorities in Glasnevin Cemetery, have to have an understanding of how a father who lost his 5-year-old daughter 5 years ago wants to sit at her graveside tomorrow. And I think even the hardest of hearts could understand that.
Yeah. See, people say, Adrian, get over the front gate. If we go over the front gate, I'm open then to the public. There's cars driving past there every day, every second of the day. There's checkpoints sitting outside there.
Yeah, I've seen them,
There's unmarked police cars driving past there. So if we go over that range, I'm only going to make it 6 feet. So I might as well do it discreet. So I'm going to go away to no one may to see me. And I'm going to like, if I see anyone that walks there, I'm going to get down behind the gravestone and creep along the ground.
God, that's awful, having to do that just to sit at your own daughter's grave.
It is, but I can't, I just said there a few minutes ago, you emailed Glasnevin Graveyard to ask them for an answer why they closed. I can't, like, why are they closed?
I have to say, I don't really understand, and their explanation on their website is very vague, just that it's limited to funerals and cremations only due to the ongoing COVID-19 situation. But it doesn't make much sense in terms of how other graveyards are open. And I can only assume, Ernie, and this is me just assuming, that it has something to do with the amount of graves that are in Glasnevin Cemetery versus somewhere like Dardastown, which is much more spread out. I don't know. Yeah. That's my assumption.
What about Dean's Grange and Anthony? I mean, I know your granddad's buried there, but I don't know what about. I didn't do my homework on Dean's Grange and Anthony like that. You know what I mean? That's a big graveyard as well, at least, you know?
Okay, stay there for 1 second. Let me go to Stacey. You're on 98 FM. Hiya, Stacey.
Hiya, Adrian.
Well, Stacey, what did you want to say?
I was the same. I'm in the same position as that fella. My nanny died nearly 6 years ago, and for me to get my comfort, I go to the grave. And I couldn't go on Mother's Day. She brought me up, so she was like, "Me, Mum, couldn't go to the grave on Mother's Day or anything," and it absolutely destroyed me. Like, and is she in Glasnevin as well? Yeah, in Glasnevin. And I can only presume that the reason we're not allowed to visit our loved ones is because of the museum, which is very unfair. No, and
I do understand why the museum is closed, and I'm sure most do. And the tour buses aren't going in and all of it. There isn't any tourists anyway, but I do understand that bit. I don't really understand, and Ernie doesn't understand, why a man on his own can't go and sit at his daughter's graveside. I just can't get my head around that. No, neither can I. It's horrible. Like that, I would go on my own. I'd have to leave my kids at home and go on my own. Yeah, and again, we're not talking about having a blessings of the graves with thousands of people flocking into the cemetery, and that won't be happening this year. We're talking about individual people on individual anniversaries or whatever being allowed to visit their loved ones. I have to be honest with you, Adrian, I go up to the grave a lot, and that graveyard doesn't be busy. The only time it's busy is Christmas time and the likes of Mother's Day and stuff, and Easter maybe. But on a normal, weekday, it wouldn't be busy at all. I'd drop my kids to school and go over and sit in my nanny's grave. Do you know what I mean? No, the only time you would see it very, very busy is if there's lots of tourists around, but they only hang around inside the gate, or on a day when there's the blessings of the graves where it'll be packed. But other than that, it would never be very busy. Well, I presume where Amy's child is where the angels is,
that's kind of up the top, isn't it? Like, that's not really that busy.
I'm not sure, and I don't even want to identify where his daughter is specifically buried, because he plans to go and see her tomorrow anyhow. And as I said, I'm not encouraging breaking and entering. But yes, Ernie, yeah.
Adrian, Mia, I'm not going to say this, but Mia is not. She's buried in a double plot. We have basically what Siobhan's mother and father passed away there a couple of years ago. And Siobhan's mother, before she passed, Lord Wester, she bought plots. With Siobhan's family, they let us put me beside Siobhan's mother and father, you know.
All right, Ernie, do me a favour and stay on the line there for 1 second if you can, please. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note from Anne-Marie that was just sent in to us.
I feel for that man, definitely. I will be going on Friday. It's my brother's anniversary, and I will be going to the graveyard, and it's not 5 kilometres away, but I just don't see why not. If you do social distance and follow the rules, I don't see the difference if there's no one going to be in the graveyard in any way. But I will be going on Friday for my brothers, and I'm sure most of my family will be too. Ones that can drive there will be going. And that's all I want to say in that matter. I feel for that man, and I don't think he should stay away. I know Balgriffin is open because I visited already. But he should do what makes him feel better. And I can't see why anyone would stop him going in if it is open. Okay,
it's not open. That's the problem. It is not open to visitors. Glasnevin Cemetery, due to the current ongoing COVID-19 situation, access to Glasnevin Cemetery is currently limited to funerals and cremations only. You can't just visit. And that's the problem that Ernie is facing. It is his daughter's 5th anniversary tomorrow. She passed away at the age of 5, and it's her 5th anniversary tomorrow, and he wants to visit her gravesite. We'll take a very quick break. We're back in a second.
The sound of the city, from Perrystown to Portmarnock. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
And every morning on this programme, we deal with various different issues surrounding the whole COVID-19 situation here in Ireland and its impact on people's lives. And one impact directly as a result of this virus is the impact on a father who lost his daughter, aged just 5 years ago on the 7th of May 2015. His little girl Mia passed away after a very long struggle with a brain tumour, and tomorrow is her 5th anniversary. And as most of us would want to do, we would want to visit the graveyard or the gravesite of our loved one at that time. A 5th anniversary is a very significant anniversary. But he has been told by Glasnevin Cemetery he can drop down a bunch of flowers to the front gate and the lady will pop them on her grave for him. But he doesn't want that. He wants to sit at his daughter's grave tomorrow. You would argue not a very unreasonable demand. However, Glasnevin say that due to the ongoing COVID-19 situation, access to the cemetery is currently limited to funerals and cremations only. And as was said, this isn't the case with all cemeteries. We're not quite sure why it applies to Glasnevin and not to other cemeteries. Even Dardistown, which is part of the Glasnevin Trust, is open, but Glasnevin Cemetery itself is not. Let me have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note from Gary.
First thing I'd just like to say is I offer my complete condolences to that man and his family. I mean, losing your child is hard enough, and just on the day of our anniversary wanting to go and visit her, it should be just something that you think you could take for granted. I don't know if this is going to help. It's not going to help, but just maybe something that I was thinking of. I too have my daughter is buried in Glasnevin, and she's in the angel plot up there, and I haven't been able to go and see her. But this is just my opinion, and I don't know if this helps, but the thinking that I have is that Glasnevin Cemetery is actually open to the public for tours, you know, with the leaders of the 1916 Rising being buried there. It's steeped in history, and I just wonder, is that why they're not letting people in to visit graves? all that said, that doesn't make a blind bit of difference to that man. And can I just say from mine and all my family that we're thinking of you all tomorrow, and we really hope you get through it. And the one thing I will say, my daughter died in 97, so I've got quite used to this, is that it doesn't matter where you are tomorrow. You could be stuck in the lockdown out your back garden, maybe if you're doing a bit of work or whatever. She's in your heart, she's in your partner's heart, and all your family's heart. And I know I'm not trying to make it better for not being there tomorrow at her side, but she'll never leave your heart. My daughter's never left my heart. I'm teary here. My daughter has never left my heart, and I don't have to be by her graveside to love her and to remember her and to keep her memory alive. Anyway, I really hope tomorrow passes for you okay, and for your partner and for everybody else. And maybe that was just my opinion. Maybe that's why they're not letting it in, because it is open to the public for tours. Lovely topic, and I hope everyone at 98FM Dublin Talks is safe and well. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much indeed, Gary. Ernie, obviously it goes without saying that your daughter is always in your heart, and tomorrow will be no different any other day. But I think with you, I get the feeling, Ernie, it's a point of principle that you want to do what you've done, obviously, every year since little Mia passed away, and that is to go and sit with her.
Yeah, there's not, like, I go down to the graveyard, like, we go up for walk here in the morning, like, probably at 4 in the morning, probably finish during the afternoon. But, like, I go down to the graveyard, like, when I'm off work, or if I'm in work in the afternoon, I'll go down before I go to work. I'll go down when I get time to go down, you know, with walk and all. But, like, I remember there, like, before I started with Go Ahead Ireland, I was sitting, it was basically a life-turning opportunity for me to, like, I wrote a story on Facebook the other day, what I went through when Mia passed away, turned to alcohol, and basically my own family and my partner couldn't read me back. I was drinking day in, day out. And it was a wake-up call when Siobhan got a phone call off a woman that she didn't know. And the woman basically told Siobhan that Mia was very concerned about her daddy. And that's what basically knocked her on the head, you know, with the drink. But I remember going before my bus licence, I was doing my driving test. Was to say tomorrow. I went down to Mia's grave on my own the day before my test, and I prayed to Mia to help me through this, because I knew my own heart so if I got this, it would be a life-turning opportunity for myself and my family. And I could clearly say I was in the cab. I got a stone off my father with a picture of Mia on the stone. And I get the present. I got a cool present on my right-hand shoulder in the cab of the bus, and the driver instructor sit beside me. And in my ear, I could hear something saying, "You're going to do it, Daddy." And at the same time, I was trying to keep me focused on my concentration, because I knew that I had to do this. You know, like, I want to get.
Okay, so the point being that being at her graveside means an awful lot to you.
Yeah, 100% it does.
Yeah,
100%. Like, when Mia passed away, like the year she passed away from now, like, I'm not like, we've been there for the last 5 years, so tomorrow's going to be no different.
Okay,
I know because.
And we all understand the difficulty. We still don't quite understand specifically why Glasnevin has been closed. I know Dr. Tony Holohan did say when he was asked a couple of weeks ago that a visit to a graveyard isn't an essential journey. I would argue on a day like tomorrow, your daughter's 5th anniversary, that is for you an essential journey. And stay there for a second. Let me go to Rona. You're on 98 FM. Hi, Rona.
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Now, you were in Mount Jerome on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't understand why Ernie can't go to Glasnevin or anybody go to Glasnevin, because Mount Jerome is a big cemetery as well, and the graves are on top of each other. It was my father's 9th anniversary on Monday. Sorry, I beg your pardon, it was Monday, the bank holiday, and we went up, and there was a few people around, but like, I don't understand. I mean, that was a bank holiday weekend and it was open. But yeah, Glasnevin might open out any day. Like. Yes,
and the only thing, and that message there a couple of minutes ago, it could be bang on the money, that part of Glasnevin obviously is the tourist attraction part of it, where people go to see graves of leaders from the past and so on. And they've had to knock that on the head. And unfortunately, it is people with loved ones buried there that are suffering.
Yeah, I understand that, Adrian, but surely to God, where the tourist park is, when you go in the big main gate as you drive in, it's on the right-hand side, that tourist gate. That could be blocked off. just open pedestrian gate that people can only walk in and visit a grave. Do you know what I mean?
I would have thought if you have a grave number for a specific grave that you specifically want to visit, it's not unreasonable to be
let you in.
Yeah. It really doesn't make an awful lot of sense. But anyway, Mount Jerome is open. You were there on Sunday.
On Monday, the bank holiday. Monday, yeah. So I mixed up with my days, I beg your pardon. Yeah, it was Monday, the bank holiday, the 4th of May. But a bank holiday weekend and a big old cemetery is open, but Glasnevin is not open in the midweek. I just don't see the sense in it.
I don't myself, I'll be honest. And we have... I feel
my heart goes out there, and it really, really does. I actually had twins buried up in Glasnevin, which their anniversary was the 16th of March, and I didn't get to go.
And, I mean, much and all as I can't be seen to be condoning the man going into the cemetery tomorrow, I'm not going to argue with him either. Because... No,
do you know what? I'd actually go up and distract somebody so we could actually get in. Being honest with you, because I couldn't get up myself, and my twins are there, but that's 18 years on now, as that other caller said, you do kind of say, well, look, another day. I suppose it's just another day, but for Ernie, it's still very raw.
Absolutely. 5 years. I mean, it's only 5 years.
That's all, yeah.
Let me go to Louise. You're on 98 FM. Hi, Louise.
How are you, Adrian?
Good, thanks. What did you want to say?
I just wanted to say that I think it's ridiculous that Glasnevin is closed as well. Both my parents are buried over in the Garden of Remembrance over there. The two of them were created for me. And I missed Easter, I missed my dad's anniversary, and I missed my dad's birthday. And like that other lady is up to saying, Mount Jerome was open to everybody. I was up there last Monday, and there was loads of people walking around it. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and like I said, I can only link it to the tourist aspect of that particular cemetery, that they had to close, obviously, the visitor centre and everything else. But I can't understand how Ernie can't give his daughter's grave number and be allowed to walk straight to her grave and sit there for half an hour.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, Louise, thank you very much indeed. Let me bring in some more of your WhatsApps before we finish this. This is from Stephanie.
Hi, Jeremy. My sister was in the same situation there 2 weeks ago. She went up to Newlands Cross to visit her daughter's grave, and they wouldn't let her in either. Now, the only thing I can think of is because Glasnevin and Newlands Cross have the crematoriums. Is that the reason why they're closed? As I was in Palmerstown Cemetery 3 weeks ago, and there was no issue.
I can't see why it would be anything to do with the crematorium being there. That wouldn't really make any sense, Ernie, would it?
No, Adrian. Like, people have said there's people down there getting cremated there is on a daily basis.
Yes.
And people said, why don't look down and they go among the people that's going in. Well, I wouldn't do that, you know. I wouldn't be I'm interfering there with people that's going in, going and get a local cremated, you know. People, I wouldn't do it, you know. Down, that's what I say to these people as well. Go down and just jump among people going in the gate.
No, you can't do it because even funeral sizes are being restricted. Let me just play a couple more WhatsApps before I let you go, Ernie. This is Stephanie.
Hi, Jeremy.
Oh, sorry, we played that one. This one's Anthony.
Hey, Adrian. It's an absolute disgrace that people can't go to the graveyards to visit their loved ones. Now, I do understand things are closed during the COVID-19 pandemic. But, it's not like everyone's going to be crowded around a load of graves all close together. Everyone's going to be spread out. So I can't understand why Glasnevin is closed and everywhere else is open.
And we've been on to Glasnevin just in the last while, and they insist that they will not be open until the 8th of June. Not much use for Ernie tomorrow. Les sent this message.
Good morning. You see, that's why I'm saying, always saying, that this whole situation with the lockdown is basically madness. I mean, not allowing a father to go for his daughter's grave is absolutely disgraceful. I mean, people have no sense of any proper behaving. I mean, how can you say something like this? How can you prohibit people from going on the graves? It's disgraceful.
Okay, and let me see. Fionn is on about Newlands Cemetery.
Hi, Adrian. You can't drive into Newlands Cemetery, but you can most certainly walk in, because I have done the last few weeks.
Okay, and finally, Paul sent us this message.
Adrian, the only thing I can think of is Glasnevin Cemetery is the is the gold mine. That's where they make all their money, and they don't want to affect it in any way for when they can reopen. That's just my taking of why they're closed.
And sorry, one last one. This is from Jason, Ernie, who doesn't think you should visit the graveyard tomorrow.
Hey, Adrian. It's broken for that dad to see that just wants to sit by his daughter's grave. But the only thing is, I say to him not to go there because he's breaking and entering, and if the Gardaí have to be called, I think it's horrible to put that kind of situation on a guard who's just doing his job and following the law and everything. I just think it's really unfair on them. It's a difficult situation, but to put the stress on the Gardaí and the staff, I don't think is very fair.
Ernie, does that worry you that you might be putting stress on the Gardaí and the staff?
No, not in a million years. I'm going down there tomorrow. I'm not saying what time I'm going down, not in case someone is listening, but I guarantee you now, at this moment, that I will be there tomorrow morning, and if anyone does come and confront me a guard, I'm going to sit there, I'm not going to cause any havoc, no back chat, nothing. I'm sitting here at my daughter's grave, I'm not doing any harm, that's it. Full stop. If that was your daughter there and in that grave 6 foot under, you do the same, and that's what I'm doing tomorrow. So people can say you're breaking the entrance, you're putting guards under stress, I'm not putting anyone under stress. If guards come to me, they'll put themselves under stress. I'm going to sit there at that grave and that's it. I'm not going to do nothing else. I'm going to go down with a bunch of flowers, sit there at that grave for about half an hour, and I'm going back out the exact same way I went in. I'm not breaking, as I said to you earlier, Adrian, I'm not breaking anything, I'm not doing any damage to nothing.
Yes, okay. And I said, as a broadcasting organisation, Ernie, I have to say that I can't be encouraging you to break and enter and all of that. But, and I say a big but, I think anybody with half a heart can understand why you want to visit your daughter's grave tomorrow. Ernie, look, I wish you well, and I'm going to talk to you maybe later on in the week, maybe on Friday, and see how you get on.
Yeah, no bother.
All right, Ernie. Thanks very much indeed, and the best of luck to you. Lovely to talk to you again.
Thanks very much.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. There you go. It's such a sad story. It really, really, really is. Anyway, there you go. That's Ernie. We will talk to him later on in the week. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks.
The sound of the city, from Firhouse to Finglas. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
If you were listening to the show last week, you would have heard us speak to a hairstylist who admitted to doing nixers, visiting people's houses to cut their hair because they're so desperate. I'll give you a recap on that in just a moment, because the Irish Hairdressers Federation is now calling for the opening of salons to be brought forward to avoid a surge in black market services, to prevent more people doing what Claudia is doing. Salons will not reopen until phase 4 of the government's plan for reopening the country, meaning they will remain closed until the 20th of July, because they're not deemed an essential service. But the group wants salons to be moved into phase 3 of the plan, which would allow them to reopen on the 29th of June. I'm joined on the line by Dylan Bradshaw, who's the owner of Dylan Bradshaw Hair Salon in Dublin. Dylan, can I begin by asking you, is this because of the growing black market that you would like to see salons reopening a bit earlier?
Well, no, I mean, there's two reasons. I mean, it's spearheaded by, like, if we go black market, I mean, how do we protect, the client or the hairdresser and so on and so forth? If we're supposed to close down to the 20th of July, it kind of defeats the purpose. So we might as well just give up, because the industry's going to boom behind the scenes, which is the black market. Us guys are waiting in the wings to do what's right for supposedly what we've been asked to do, and then they've actually driven, like a shot in the arm, if you like, to the industry that's going on behind the scenes. So it kind of defeats the purpose, really, if, myself and, 25, 30,000 professionals in our industry, in the hair and the beauty and the barbering trade, are actually sitting there trying to do, with their businesses closed, losing out. And meanwhile, it's just going on rampage behind the scenes. So it defeats the purpose, because what's going to happen is you probably end up getting a spike. So if you're in my salon, as an example, I get to control the environment. I get to control my team's health and safety, and also the clients, which is much more important because it's one designated
so tell me,
spot.
One of the fears, obviously, with your particular industry is that close contact and how it is possible to maintain social distancing while cutting somebody's hair. How are you going to do that?
Oh, well, look, there's lots of ways and means that we've protected ourselves with this. Obviously, we use masks, but we work from behind. A lot of people seem to think that we're like face-to-face all the time. You book appointments in. It's not a free-for-all. The salon will be scaled right back. We're keeping a 2-metre distance from client to client or the next staff, so there's no cross-contamination. You can actually do it if you wear the right protective wear, disposable gowns, and so on and so forth. I mean, are you telling me that, if we're doing it, if somebody's calling to your home, it's in a much better setup? We can control the actual traffic that comes through the salon, and already we've worked on where there's a walkway system that you come in one side through the salon, you leave the other side. It's touch, purchasing, obviously with your cards, or you can prepay before if it makes it easier for you. We have everything pre-packed for retail and so on that's leaving the salon space. And we also have a designated area, so when we come in, we both do a cleanse. We do a deep, the clients get to do a proper hand sanitize, wearing fresh masks that we supply, put on the fresh gown. It's just much more controlled, and it just means that everybody that works under the space and the clients that come through the space, we can keep control over it.
Okay, so are you very confident that, well, obviously you can speak for yourself, but that other hair salons and beauty salons are following this sort of guideline and putting these sorts of measures in place for their eventual reopening?
Look, what I'm saying to you is I can't speak for the rest of the industry. What I can speak for is that we're ready to go back to it, okay? What I can speak for is the black market, and what I can speak for is how people are going to practice safety in homes or different venues and cross-contaminating from venue to venue. What I can tell you is that if I have a controlled area that I'm working as a business space every day under certain rules and regulations, that I can take care of my client and I can take care of my team. And that moving forward is the way to go. And nobody's talking about, this virus is here to stay for at least a year, they're saying. Let's learn to protect ourselves and work with it. We're not here banging on drums saying, you know what, we're being unrealistic, but we're closed 8 weeks now. Now we need to start talking about getting back to work in a safe environment. What I don't want to do is kick it back down to 70 odd days where clients are have left our industry. People are calling in wherever they want to get done, and that we haven't got we haven't got teams to come back to work because they decided to stay at home or to do hairdressing from at home, and that we haven't got clients coming back to our industry because we were over protective, which basically I feel that we need to have a bit more of a consultation with the government, with the medical side of it, but also, we're in businesses as well, and it's going to be a very dark next 12 months for industry because, we have to do everything on a much smaller scale and a half the load of the people that we come through to take care of our clients in the right way.
Now, we have seen in other countries that hair salons have already been allowed to reopen. The original plan issued by the government last week would see hair salons reopening in phase 4, which is on the 20th of July. You want to see that brought forward to toward the end of June?
I think the end of June is much more practical. I think it gives everybody enough time if we're talking about it to build in. Personally, I could open up in a couple of weeks. I can't speak for the industry, as I said. We've got a lot of practice put in place. But I definitely think July 20th is a little unnerving. I think it's way too far down the line. And I think there'll be too much damage done at that stage because we haven't really set up a proper I suppose, can cover their asses against the industry, if you like, where it's going to go perfect. I'm getting inundated with texts and emails from clients or from strangers going, do you have a service where you can send your clients out? Please tell me, does it not make more sense that I can control the space that I'm in rather than randomers going from space to space?
And in fact, last week what we discovered was that this demand for black market is client-led. It is being pushed by people wanting their hair done, essentially. And that demand isn't going to go away anytime soon. So for you, it makes much more sense to allow the industry to reopen that bit earlier with proper protections in place.
Absolutely. I think any client that walks into a professional space and they don't, follow the rules, they should not do business with these businesses. I'm not saying that, across the industry where it's going to be perfect. What I'm saying is it's like any sort of health and safety. You walked into a restaurant, you know this operation is not taking care of serious, or they're not looking after you. You don't do business with these places. You don't put yourself through any sort of jeopardy in that way. But I cannot understand, and I understand women are desperate because it's nearly 3 months. We're 8 weeks closed this week, and now they're asking for the 70 days. I mean, it is going to, panic will set in. But at the same time, though, our industry is going to be like disintegrated overnight if we don't pull it together now, as far as I'm concerned.
We spoke yesterday on this programme about pubs and whether or not they should be allowed to open a little bit earlier as well, with social distancing in place. And for some businesses, that's just not viable. Is it viable for you to limit the amount of customers that you have and have that proper social distancing in place?
Yeah, for me it is, because I have a huge salon space of 10,000 square feet, so I can take that. But let's be honest, the smaller salons can do it too. We've all been talking for these weeks and months at this stage now about how to do it, where we do a system where you can have your staff work 3 or 4 days on, 3 or 4 days off, and open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every night, where you're open 7 days a week, which basically means that you can have your staff and everybody can still get to their clients, and the backup, if you like, of 8, 10, 12, 14 weeks of people not getting their hair done. So, at the end of the day, we have to be morally responsible for our clients, but also the hairdressers as well, which is really important, that we can take proper responsibility moving forward with this, that we're not contributing to any effects of the COVID-19. And that's down to good practice,
Okay, and finally, Dylan, we saw when this all began, panic buying in the supermarkets. Do you see a situation where there will be panic buying in the hairdressers when you eventually get to reopen?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, it's going to be carnage, to be honest. If people are doing home colours or having bad hair experiences as well, it will be. But look, we get through it. It's just a little bit of patience. And you know what? We're trying to ask our clients just to hang on a little bit more, because we're trying to, bang the drums at the moment to just say to the government, you know what, we get why we're in lockdown, but look, let's have a consultation, let's talk about it, and let us take responsibility about the health and safety of our industry that the government knows very little about. And that's what we're here today, is to try and say, listen to us, have conversation and dialogue, so we can get back in a responsible way, so that everybody is safe, but also people's jobs are safe, and people's mental health, most importantly, also is safe.
All right. Well, look, Dylan, I wish you the very best of luck with that consultation with the government. And I know an awful lot of people believe that he should be allowed to open that little bit earlier on the 29th of June as opposed to the 20th of July. Dylan Bradshaw from Dylan Bradshaw Hair Salon, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. And I'd like to hear from you on this. Do you believe that hair salons can and should be allowed to open in phase 3 of our plan? The government put them in phase 4 to reopen around about the 20th of July. But as you could hear from Dylan, he's arguing that they should be allowed to open on the 29th of June instead, in phase 3 of the plan. Do you think it's safe? We'll take a very quick break and we'll take your calls in just a moment. It's 11 o'clock across Dublin. Good morning. This is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, and this is Emma with Wednesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Good morning. Leaving Cert students are likely to get a predicted grade if the state exams can't be held. The Department of Education wants to hold the Leaving Cert at the end of July, but this will only be possible if public health officials feel it can be done safely. Gardaí are questioning a man in his late 20s in connection with an armed robbery at a petrol station in Clondalkin yesterday afternoon. Staff were threatened and a sum of money was taken, however no one was injured. The Taoiseach has told Fine Gael's parliamentary party he's confident a government will be in place by June. A 3-hour meeting was held with the party's TDs, senators and MEPs last night. And coronavirus is going to feature in future episodes of Coronation Street, but the crisis won't dominate storylines. ITV's paused production of new episodes during the pandemic. When the soap resumes, characters will follow hand-washing protocols, and Weatherfield's restaurants will shift to offering food deliveries. And now you're up to date on 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
And good morning from Adrian Kennedy. Just before the break there, we were talking with Dylan Bradshaw, the owner of Dylan Bradshaw Hair Salon, about their desire to be allowed to reopen a little bit earlier than the government's plan has laid out. The Irish Hairdressers Federation is calling for the opening of salons to be brought forward to avoid a surge in black market services, which, as we heard last week on the programme, is a thing, is happening, and is happening more and more and more as people demand to have their hair cut. We spoke to a lady called Claudia last week who admitted to doing this, and she said that it is completely customer driven.
Yes, it definitely has. But like I was saying to you on the phone a while ago, like, we've actually done house calls to my friend, and my friend has recommended me to go to other people's houses, and it was perfectly fine. Like, we've all wore like protective gear and everything. Well, personally, I couldn't wear gloves because I couldn't cut the hair, so that's the way it was. But everybody was sanitizing and everything, so I didn't see the problem in it.
So have you only done it once?
No, I've done it 4 times now.
You've done it 4. So hang on. So you have done hair for 4 friends. Are they all friends?
No, not friends. No, one was a friend, and obviously she put me through to 4 people.
Now, you've heard what Sandra is saying, that this is people doing stuff like this, like you, are adding to the ongoing lockdown that we have because you're not properly socially distancing and you're doing something that isn't an essential service. What do you say to that?
But I don't believe it's as she says, because it is social distancing as well, because we make sure there's no kids in the house, it's just the client, and we've made sure COVID-19 rules being put in, that there's no one with symptoms or anything in the house. And if there was, we wouldn't go into the house. Do you get me,
All right. Now, that was Claudia speaking on this programme last week, admitting that she is going to people's houses and cutting people's hair. And I want to find out from you whether or not you believe it would be safe to reopen the hair salon. And I know we had a similar conversation yesterday about the pubs, but interestingly, out of that conversation about the pubs, 73% of you said you wouldn't visit anyway, even if the pubs reopened. So let's do another poll today and find out whether or not you think... Okay, so here's what's originally proposed by the government. They plan on allowing salons to reopen in phase 4 of the reopening plan, and that is on the 20th of July. Okay? As you could hear, the Irish Hairdressers Federation wants that brought forward to phase 3 of the plan, which is the 29th of June. And I want to find out from you whether or not you think it would be safe to open salons on the 29th of June. Simply text the word yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Do you think it would be safe to reopen hair salons on the 29th of June? Now, let me just see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're talking another 7 weeks from now, 7.5 weeks from now. Do you think it would be safe to open salons on the 29th of June? And also, I want to hear from you. Just text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98 with the answer to that question. Should the opening of salons be brought forward to the 29th of June? Do you think it can be done safely? Text yes or no and send it to 0877 98 98 98. Because a lot of people think it will be safe. It should be safe. You heard Dylan Bradshaw saying he will have everything in place to make sure it's safe. Not just for him, not just for his staff, but for customers as well. Call me right now on 6797 981. Let's have a listen to a couple of WhatsApp messages. Ian is a barbershop owner who agrees with Dylan.
Hi guys, as a barbershop owner, I definitely echo what Dylan's saying there. We can control our environment much, much more than house calls, and house calls are absolutely rampant at the moment. I mean, for instance, we can take everyone's name, telephone number, email address, so if there is any traceability or contact tracing to be done, we have everyone's details. We know what time Jim and John and Johnny are all in the barbershop or the salon. So it's very, very easily traced. Also, just to differentiate between barbershops and salons, especially barbershops, we don't need 2 and 3 hours. That's what some salons need. But the industry as a whole can definitely protect ourselves a lot more than barbers and hairdressers and beauticians do in house calls. It's a much more controlled environment. We have our PPE. I know some salons have put up perspex between each customer. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Okay, so that's Ian saying that yes, he believes they can safely reopen before the planned date of the 20th of July. But Ciara, you're also a barber and eager to get back to work, I'm sure, like everybody else.
I certainly am.
But
I just don't think that it's very safe at the moment, because like where I work in the barbershop, you have a very big overturn of staff coming in. We literally can't keep a social distance between ourselves and the client. We work right on top of them for more than 15 minutes per client, so I just still don't think it's safe enough to do so.
Do you ever think it'll be safe enough?
Oh, of course, I definitely do. I think the restrictions we have at the moment are necessary, but I do believe that maybe in phase 4 we'll be in a better stead to go ahead. I mean,
we have been told, in all the health advice, we have been told that social distancing is going to be part of our lives for the foreseeable future. Okay, so even after all businesses have reopened, all businesses are only going to be able to reopen if they can ensure safe social distancing. So are you telling me that where you work, you just can't do that?
It's not that we can't. We would certainly try in the best interests of our clients. I mean, we all want to get back to work, but it is going to be very hard as a barber that works in a small environment to be able to carry out that.
But listening to that message that I just played, he's basically saying that you can have perspex screens between clients. You can, in other words, it's going to take a bit of work in your premises to make this work.
It certainly will. I mean, yeah, I'm all for perspex where you can have it, but, you know, there's going to be some small barbershops that won't be able to maintain that. I mean, it's going to be very hard to put your hands between a client's head and a bit of perspex or whatever to make it work, you know?
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that if social distancing has to be a thing in your barbershop, it's going to be very difficult to do.
It will, but I'm sure they'll pull it off. Like, everyone's going to try their best to do it. I mean, we all need to reopen, so I do believe, like, the bosses will put something in place for us when we go back.
Okay, but you're happy to leave the phased reopening until the 20th of July for barbershops?
Yeah, I believe it's the safest thing to do.
And what will happen? What will be different between the 29th of June and the 20th of July?
I know it's only a matter of 3 weeks, but I'm just thinking to myself that 3 weeks will definitely allow, you know, possibly the virus to be more flattened, if not already.
Yeah, okay, stay there for 1 second, Ciara. 6797981 is our telephone number. Last week we spoke about the black market and how this is a major issue now, where people are so desperate to get their hair done that they're prepared to take a chance and have a stylist come around to their house to do it. We spoke to one last week on the show. I'd like to find out from you, are you somebody who is that desperate, that just can't take it anymore and has to get your hair done? Or maybe you did have a stylist come around to your house, or a barber. Call me now on 6797981. Susan said, yes, there is a major black market out there.
Hi, Adrian. Just to say, I think Dylan's talking a lot of sense. There's a lot of market out there for people wanting their hair done. It's getting a little bit ridiculous now, so there will be a black market. And I think, personally, if some hairdresser was to do my hair, and if they were only to wear a mask and gloves, I'd be very confident if I was wearing a gown. And with all the regulations and the measures that Dylan will put in place, I don't see why they couldn't come back. I think it's a great idea. I think a lot of people would support him and back him as well.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Susan. Robert, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Robert?
How are you, Adrian?
We were listening to Ciara there, and obviously I don't know what particular barber she works in, but she isn't overly confident that they can safely open. Do you think you can?
Well, we thought we would probably open sooner than has been recommended.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the shop set up. We've got perspex between each dress out. We have visors. We have disposable gowns, gloves, masks. We reckon we could have people waiting outside with social distance marks. The shop door would be open. There'd be fresh air coming in all the time. So yeah, we were as far as I'm concerned, compared to what I see going into our local shops or supermarkets, we were certainly more prepared than they are. People would be kept away from each other. We want to be safe as well.
So tell me what you have already installed.
We have perspex sheets put in between each dress out.
Okay.
So to keep.
So if I'm sitting here on the barber's chair, the customer next to me, there's a perspex screen between us.
Yeah, and there's a good. There has to be a couple of feet for us to be able to walk around each chair as well.
Okay.
So there's a good distance in between each chair.
And then go on.
Sorry.
Go on.
Well, after every haircut, everything will be washed down, including the chair would be washed down, everything that would use. As I said, disposable gowns, so everybody will be getting a fresh gown put on them. I don't think you could do any better than that.
Okay, but you will obviously still be close to me. You certainly won't be 2 meters away from me cutting my hair.
Well, no. But then again, we would, as I said, we'd have a visor on, we'd have a mask on. If the customer can wear a mask as well, you only have to kind of take off the little ear bit as we're going around the ear. So it would make it a hell of a lot safer.
And let me ask you then, Robert, I'm somebody and I'm going to divorce my wife if she doesn't agree to cut my hair because it's doing my head in at this stage. And I have a hairstylist who's prepared to do a face-to-face thing so that my wife can cut my hair. Now, I'm only a bloke. I'm not putting colour in my hair or whatever. She just needs to cut the bloody thing. But the point I'm making is some people are getting desperate. Have you had people ask you to come and do their hair?
I've had loads of people texting me and asking me if I'd go and cut their hair over the last couple of months. I haven't done it, but I've had lots asking.
And offering, obviously, above the odds?
Yeah. I had one fella text me offering 100 quid to go and cut 3 heads of hair.
Really? God.
Yeah.
Okay, but you've said no, and you said no because it's not the right thing to do? It's not a safe thing to do? What is it?
A bit of both. Certainly in through the height of the lockdown, I wasn't doing it. I was sticking to what has been asked. We were only travelling 2 kilometres away from the house.
Mm-hmm.
We're very lucky we live beside a park. So it's been easy enough for us, But to continue on like this for another 3 months, it's a struggle, with the amount of money that we have. We're not earning anything. So it is quite hard. I don't want to go and cut anybody's hair.
That's what I was about to say.
I won't do it.
The longer this goes on, does it become more of a temptation?
Certainly. Certainly. I won't do it, but it is a temptation, all right. I wouldn't be ripping people off if I did, but I wouldn't do it.
Okay, stay there for 1 second because let me just have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note, and this is something that I mentioned to you a second ago. This is from Daniel.
Okay.
Hey, Adrian. The hairdressers and barbers, I don't seem to think they can grasp the fact that social distancing means you have to be 2 meters away from somebody. How are you supposed to cut someone's hair if you have to? You have to touch someone to cut their hair. So what are they going to do? Use a shears or something and stand 2 meters away and try and cut it from there?
Robert, we did see some funny videos from China and stuff with people cutting hair from 2 meters away and whatever.
Yeah, I've seen them myself.
Yeah, but it just isn't practical to maintain 2 meters. So isn't this part of the problem here?
But then again, some of the first phase of opening are opticians. Opticians get quite close to you at times as well, and they'd be looking in your eye. They have to touch you. So, and that's in the first phase of things that can open. which I thought was a bit strange.
Okay, now
I know a lot of things are done by machines these days, but they still do look in your eye.
The last time I was at the optician's, I'm just trying to think, he would have looked in my eye with the light, and then he would have blown the puff of air into me with the machine. But there's not enough.
The last time I went, they still touched me with the little light, had a little look around, asked me to look left and right and up and down. So that's one of the first phases that have been reopened.
Okay, now, like I said, the original plan issued by the government last week was that hair salons would open in phase 4 on the 20th of July. Do you believe, because that last lady, as you heard, she was being honest, even though she wants to go back to work, she doesn't believe that they're geared up for it and that they'd be able to reopen safely. Do you?
Well, I think we're geared up as much as we possibly can. I think the way hairdressers and barbers will probably function will be like this from now on. Maybe not without the perspex in between each. But, I think they will probably function like this. You've been getting your hair cut for so many years. I'm sure barbers don't wear gloves and things like that when you've been doing it.
Generally not.
I'm sure that's going to be the norm from now on.
But
I want to get back to work.
No, obviously, I completely understand how you want to get back to work, and there is this fear in the industry, and it's an understandable fear, that this growing black market could irreparably damage your whole industry and become the new norm of people coming around to houses to do hair, and obviously that's not what any of you want to see happening. Well,
it could, but to be honest, in my experience over the years, men like to go out to the barbers. They like to get done, have a little chat. Like, a lot of fellas like to talk to a particular barber. They're not even going for it because of...
Yeah, no, and I get that. And I have my own barber
with that particular guy.
I have my own barber that I go to regularly, and it's part of the experience. I understand that. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and by all accounts, people are getting more and more desperate by the day to get their hair done.
For a haircut, I know.
And it's mad. Who'd have ever thought that this was ever going to be even a conversation? But I can tell you now, my hair is stuck to my head with gel because it's gone so long, and it's doing my head in. But I know it's not the end of the world, and there are far more important things going on in the world, but I can see how people are, starting to pull their hair out. Excuse the pun, but anyway.
I say it myself. I don't have to worry too much. I'm bald, but...
maybe that's the way I should have gone years ago. But anyway, all right, Robert, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text, you can WhatsApp, or you can send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. And keep your votes coming in, because the question that I'm asking you is, do you think it will be safe to reopen hair salons? By the way, in other European countries, they've already opened them. And these are some countries that were badly hit by this virus, but as part of their unwinding their lockdown, in some countries, they've already reopened hair salons. The question I'm asking you is, do you think it will be safe to reopen hair salons on the 29th of June, which is, as I said, 7 weeks away? Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. And let me know how you feel about that. Do you think it will be safe to reopen the salons? Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note from Linda.
Hi, Adrian. Just on your subject there, one of the pubs in the town where I live in Roscommon was open here on the weekend, and it was quite busy actually. I feel people are just going to become very complacent with everything. The minute, the government has given this go-ahead that we're going to start easing up on restrictions, people will just go back to normal, full force, not in stages. That's my opinion on it anyway. Thanks, Adrian. Bye.
And Linda, I kind of agree with you. That once we start, you could even see over last weekend the massive increase in traffic, and there was. And I was talking to a Garda actually yesterday, and one of the things that they have a laugh about is some of the excuses that people come up with for travelling in the car. And she said they actually get a bit of a laugh about it because there's not much they can do as long as somebody has a reasonable excuse for travelling. We're going to take a very quick break. David and Stephanie, I'll be with you straight after the break. Don't go away.
The sound of the city, from Sallynoggin to Swords. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
We're in the middle of a conversation about a call for hair salons to be allowed to reopen a little bit earlier than was originally planned. The original plan is for salons to be allowed to open in phase 4 of the government's plan, which kicks in on the 20th of January. This is obviously all pending what happens with the virus and whether or not our figures continue to go down. But as you have heard, the Irish Hairdressers Federation is calling for that to be brought forward to the 29th of June, phase 3. And we're asking you whether or not you think it will be safe to reopen the salons then. Here is the result of our poll, where we asked you to simply answer yes or no. Do you think it will be safe to reopen salons on the 29th of June rather than nearly a month later on the 20th of July? And here is the result. This might surprise you, actually. Despite the fact that there is such demand for people to do hair, 71% of you, this is and a huge volume of respondents to this, 71% of you have said no. You don't believe it will be safe to reopen salons on the 29th of June. 71% saying no, 29% of you saying yes. So that's a huge majority of people who don't believe that it would be safe. Michelle wants to know, what's the rush here?
Good morning. Just want to say that hairdresser has me absolutely sold. He had all the right points, all the right things to say. But then I'm like, well, hold on. It took the government so long to put these phases together. We just have to wait. Now, bearing that in mind, I have hair extensions that are down below my arse. I have nails growing out. Like, I'm a pampered princess, but we just have to wait until the 20th of July. When we listened to Leo's speech there last Friday, he could have said, lads, phase 1 is starting in September. I just feel that we're just never happy. And I just think just wait till the 20th of July, because if say just go be put forward and then more deaths happen, then we're back to square one. Just sit tight, like.
All right, I mentioned a while ago that I may divorce my wife if she doesn't cut my hair. And we have one of my wife's friends is a small salon owner, and she's prepared to give advice on FaceTime to cut my hair. And she won't do it. In fact, this is Caroline, my wife's friend, who sent in this message.
Hi, I'm a small salon owner, and I just don't get how pubs or restaurants are allowed open before us. People can't sit in restaurants with masks on, but it's more hygienic and more safer to open a salon. Things can be walked around. Opening hours late, opening hours early, walking longer, but you can have one in, one out.
All right, and as I said, Caroline offered to FaceTime my wife and tell her how to cut my hair. It'll happen eventually. Where am I going to next? Stephanie, also a salon owner. There's a bit of a mixture of opinion here. Firstly, you've just heard the poll that I announced with a huge volume of people replying to it. And we asked, do people think it will be safe to reopen salons on the 29th of June? But 71% said no. Does that surprise you?
To be honest, it does. Yeah, indeed it does. I'm a small salon owner myself, and my phone is non-stop with people contacting me, asking me constantly for their colour. Could I make their colour for them? When am I reopening? Can I come to their house? Now, I do have an underlying illness. I have Crohn's disease, so it is a big deal for me. But I do feel that it's too long to close salons. It's too long to try and keep our industry afloat.
And is your worry, because I know it is from talking to others, is your worry that your whole industry is going to become a black market industry and it could destroy the actual salons?
Without a doubt. 100%, because you're going to have people going in, doing hair for little or nothing. They've no overheads. All they have to do is go to the shop and buy their colour. They go to the house, they do their colour for €50, great, in the back of the pocket. Me, I have to pay VAT, I have to pay rent, I have to pay rates, I have to pay staff. You know, it's really upsetting, to be honest. When I heard what Leo said last Friday, I got quite emotional, because I just said to myself, how are we going to get back from this if we have to close for another 11 weeks? How is people mentally going to get back to it?
Yeah, I'm interested in a message that I got a couple of minutes ago from a guy who listens to our show regularly in Norway, and it says, I live in Norway, and hairdressers opened here on the 27th of April, which is nearly 2 weeks ago. There hasn't been a spike in COVID-19 cases since, says the message. You need an appointment and can't wait in the salon. Hairdressers have masks and gloves and disposable gowns. I think that hairdressers should be allowed to open in Ireland if the measures like these can be managed properly. But then by complete contrast, Stephanie, I got another message, and it's basically saying it is physically impossible to socially distance as a hairdresser. And that is the fact of this, isn't it?
That is the fact, especially if you have to stay 2 meters away from your client. It's practically impossible. But I think if you put the right measures in place, if you have the correct PPE in place, I can't see much of a difference from me doing someone's hair with a mask on, gloves on, visor on, disposable gown on, and doing their hair from them and letting them leave fully PPE'd as well. They don't bin their PPE in the salon. As soon as they leave, we sterilise down the whole section again, which we kind of do anyways. You know, a good salon does that after every single client. It's probably people that don't go to a very good hygiene salon that are probably worried. Like my girls, they're not allowed to touch another head unless everything is sanitised down, into the barbicide, cleaned up, then go.
Okay, so you, as somebody who could be considered to be in a vulnerable category because of your condition, you believe you can open your salon safely on the 29th of June?
I believe if I follow the right protocol, I will be fine in the salon.
Okay, but as you already admitted, one of those protocols that we're all going to have to live by for a couple of months, or God knows how long, is keeping a 2 metre social distance. You've already said that that's not possible, but with the correct PPE, then that will be doable, is the point, is it?
It is the point, especially if the numbers drop in the next 7 weeks. You know, we're talking 11 weeks till we reopen. 3 weeks after we reopen, nightclubs are allowed to reopen. I can't see the logic in that. You know, people are going to be on top of each other in nightclubs. In a hair salon, you're going to put your client's colour on, you're going to walk away from them, you're not going to have anybody else in until you go back and finish your client.
All right, let me just bring in another couple of calls. In fact, here's a message here. It is 100% impossible for Gardaí to socially distance. They don't wear masks and gloves. How come the Gardaí aren't dropping like flies at checkpoints, arrests and protests and so on? And it's probably a fair point. In a moment, I'm going to be going to the spokesperson for the Irish Hairdressers Federation. But first, Alan, something that was mentioned a while ago is you're an optometrist, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. How can your job be done safely when you reopen?
Yeah, I was just listening there, and just the last man you were talking to was saying that optometrists or opticians are allowed to open back up in phase 1. And he didn't understand why that could happen.
Or how that could happen, yeah.
Yeah, compared to the hairdressers that would work at a similar distance to us. So really, like, we just have to change the entire way that we're practicing. Most opticians actually remain open at the moment. They weren't forced to close during the lockdown because they're providing an essential healthcare service, really.
So how have you changed then? If I go in to get my eyes tested, as was mentioned, you know, somebody like yourself will have a look into my eye with the little light thing and then blow a puff of air into me, but that's with a machine. Can you do your job and stay away from me?
Yeah, so basically now you can't just walk in off the street and just say, listen, I want an eye test today.
Yes. Okay, that's understandable.
It will be a phone call beforehand where we would actually do a triage with you to find out kind of what symptoms you're having, what's the problem. And by that then we judge if it was an essential appointment that you'd have to come in. that way. Like, it's not going to be that everybody that just wants to pass.
Okay, so if it's a case that I was due an eye test next week, sure, that can wait for another couple of weeks, basically. Okay, unless I have a serious underlying eye condition or whatever. Yeah.
Like a health problem, or say underlying diabetes, or you have a history in the family.
Okay, but is it planned that ye will be able to reopen in phase 1 for me to walk in and get my eyes tested?
Again, from May the 18th, we'd be opening back up as an essential healthcare service, basically.
But you've already remained open.
Yeah. So it's looking at.
So what's going to change on the 18th?
The capacity, because some shops actually closed because they couldn't support their staff.
There just wasn't enough business.
Yeah, or they were too small, that they didn't kind of have those guidelines of what size a premises would have to be and how many people could be allowed in with social distancing. So now that they have that information, like they're looking at, say, I know in the shop that I work in, it's quite small, so they can only have 4 people in the premises at a time. That includes staff.
Okay, but just back to the point that the services that you provide and the eye testing and all of that can be done in a... I do understand why you would be allowed to open a little bit earlier than hairstyle, because it is a much more critical service. Eye care is obviously very important.
If loses their glasses, we need to be able to replace
Okay, but you will be able to do what you do in a safe way.
Yeah, so like, say we'd ask questions, that will be done over the phone. Images of the back of the eyes will be done before coming into the room. So again, it's limiting the time that we have to spend in that confined space. And then again, it would just be kind of the refraction that's checking the glasses prescription in the room. So we're trying to do things before we go into that confined space.
Okay, and keep that confined space to an absolute minimum.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it to below 15 minutes.
Okay, all right. So
and of course, we'd be wearing visors, masks, gowns.
Okay, but look, I wish you well getting back open because I'm due an eye test anyway, so I'll have to pop into.
Yeah, and we are open for most.
Mine wouldn't be essential. But mine wouldn't be essential. But I could do.
If people are having a problem, just ring your local optician just to even have a triage with them, because people aren't aware that they're still open. And
okay, all right, that's good to hear. Thank you very much indeed. And finally, I want to just talk to David Campbell, who's the spokesperson for the Irish Hairdressers Federation. David, welcome to 98 FM and thank you for joining us.
Morning, Adrian.
There is a demand, and I'm wondering where this demand is coming from. Is it customer-led? Is it owner-led? Is it staff-led? Why is there this call for salons to be allowed open on the 29th of June?
I think there's a number of reasons, Adrian. I mean, the number one reason is obviously, the social distancing has to be taken into account. The radius that's in place at the moment of 5 kilometres is expected to rise. And the fear for the industry is that when that's taken beyond 5 kilometres, that the black market will kick into place and it will place the industry under severe pressure. But more importantly than that,
and sorry, just to cut across you, certainly anecdotally, even with the 2 kilometre radius or the 5 kilometre radius, the black market is thriving.
There's a huge amount of black market activity going on. And I suppose we're looking at it from a health and safety perspective. If people attend a salon, it is professional, it's sanitised, we will have measures in place for COVID protection. And our fear is that if you've got somebody going house to house, that it could cause an upward curve. We've been liaising with the government, and we've been talking to other federations around Europe who are open at the moment, open and trading at hair salons.
As we mentioned just a moment ago, Norway, for example.
Norway, Germany, Croatia, Finland, they're all open. They were all in phase 1 and 2. Because, people can see the connection between looking good and feeling good. And I think what we're trying to do is make sure that the industry stands strong and stands together. The government have been very receptive to the documents we've sent in for COVID protection. And as an industry, I know we're ready to move if the government moves to phase 3.
Okay. I did hear, though, from people who work in hair salons and barbers that they don't believe that their salon owners or their barbers owners are ready or will be ready. In other words, they don't feel safe going back to work.
Well, I think if the measures are put in place, the team safety and the guest safety in the salon is paramount above everything. And I think if the measures that we've put forward to the government are put in place in the salon, everybody will be well protected. And these measures were put together not only from the other federations around Europe who were government-led, it's also from product suppliers that do business all throughout Europe and do business in the likes of Italy, who was the hardest hit. And I think that we've taken lessons from there and seen what they've done. And bear in mind, Adrian, the hairdressing salons are open in Italy as well.
No, I'm aware of that, yeah. And that being the country that was worst hit by this virus.
Absolutely. So we're facing a double-edged sword here. Number one, you've got the health and safety aspect of somebody travelling house to house or somebody attending a hairdressing salon. And number two, you've got the black market. So it leads into each other. Because and we know that in is it phase 3 that you can travel 20 kilometres from your home? That will lead to a huge upsurge in the black market if you aren't allowed to open. Yes.
Okay, so that is the risk. Okay, do you think it's likely that you'll be listened to?
I think the government have been listening to us. I know we presented our document. They were very receptive to it. And I certainly hope that, common sense prevails. All of us want to get out of this and we want to get back to feeling good about ourselves and get back to feeling, that the country is on its feet again. And I would feel that the hairdressing industry is a huge part to play in that. Not only from the point of view of looking good, but also, it helps people's mental well-being. When you go into a salon and you get to connect with somebody and then you come back out and feel great about yourself, you can't beat that feeling.
All right, well, we'll watch this space with interest. Finally, David, sorry, just with regard to an opinion poll that we ran in the last half hour, the answer, we asked, do people believe that it is safe to reopen salons on the 29th of June? And 71% of people said no. Now, is that because they're looking at the salon before they closed and not looking at the changes that may be put in place for them to reopen?
I think once we release the guidelines to the industry and we release the guidelines to the public, which we intend to do, everybody's going to feel very safe coming to a hairdressing salon. And actually, I think we're going to be busier than ever because they're going to feel they can come in and spend quality time having their hair done
in a safe environment.
Yeah, not worrying.
All right, well, like I said, we'll watch with interest as to whether or not the government do move the reopening of salons to the 29th of June to phase 3 of the reopening plan. In the meantime, David Campbell, spokesperson for the Irish Hairdressers Federation, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. And a conversation that we may well return to in the future. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Now, get your WhatsApp voice notes into us right now for the last little bit of our show today, because it's time for your blonde moment. I love this bit of the show. This is where we ask you to share with us that time you did or said something so stupid you cringe at the thought because it was your blonde moment. Send me a WhatsApp voice note right now to 0877 98 98 98. Back in a sec.
The sound of the city from Ballybrack to Ballymun. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
And joining me for this bit of our show is our Jeremy, who is socially distanced in a completely different studio, in fact. And he's here with me for blonde moments.
Well, my one isn't a blonde moment this week. It's a grey moment because it's my mother, sadly to say. I hope she's not listening. But you know that movie Extraction that's on Netflix at the moment?
I haven't seen it yet, but
oh my God, it's
I know
amazing.
of it, yeah.
Brilliant. The most watched movie on Netflix ever. Anyway, last weekend, every weekend my mother would text me and she says, is there any good recommendations for Netflix? So I'm going to read out the text message conversation I had with her. So she texted me and she said, hey Ger, what's good to watch on Netflix tonight? And I said, I watched a great movie on Netflix last night, really, really good, called Extraction. Mm-hmm. Her text back to me, sounds crap. Is it about dentists?
Well, now I have to be. Don't. When I hear the word extraction, that's exactly what I think of, a dentist. And
so you thought the movie was...
Well, I've no idea what the movie's about, but I'm assuming it's not about dentists.
Okay, well, it's Chris Hemsworth is in it, you know, Thor.
Yeah, wouldn't make much of a movie if it's about dentists, would it?
What, like 2 hours of him pulling teeth? No. Right. Extraction, no, in fairness, I've told her, she never heard of the word either in that context. An extraction is when a soldier has to be picked up from behind enemy lines. That's
yes.
Okay.
And that's obviously what it's about.
Plot twist here. In the movie, he does lose a couple of teeth as well. He gets punched in the face.
Oh. Now, somebody just texted in straight away, Extraction, a good movie. Really?
Best movie ever. Best movie.
Oh, okay. It's time for your blonde moments. We want you to share with us that moment you did or said something that you'd cringe even telling us the story about it. And the more you cringe, the better your blonde moment story is. Because we love to hear you cringe. Jerry, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Jerry?
How's it going, lads? How are you?
Jerry, tell us about your blonde moment.
Well, it wasn't my blonde moment. It was my sister's blonde moment. So we went to Love Sensation last summer. It was a gay festival.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, like, signs everywhere for the LGBT community. And she turned around to me and my husband and says, what's that stand for? Little Britain's Got Talent.
Does it? LG?
It's not even such show.
Well, Britain's Got Talent is BGT, and
it's just obviously got the fucking B and the G or whatever mixed up, or half say.
So, I'm assuming you're gay yourself, Jerry, and your sister knows that you're gay and has never heard the term LGBT.
Well, that's why she's blonde, you know.
That's brilliant.
Now, is there a programme called Little Britain's Got Talent?
No, there isn't.
No, there's Little Britain and Britain's Got Talent. Two different shows completely.
Oh, that's very funny, yeah. Okay, right. Thanks, Jerry. That was his sister's blonde moment. Little Britain's Got Talent. Sorry, a lot of people on Jeremy Extraction. Worst movie I've ever seen, says another message.
How can you say that?
I'm not sure if I really want to take your recommendation on this now, because a lot of people texting in, rubbish, don't watch it, rubbish.
Why do people get upset when you say you like a movie and they don't? It's okay for people to dislike and like movies. I think it's the best action movie ever, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if you say otherwise, you're wrong.
Oh.
Thank you.
Michelle, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how you doing?
Michelle, share
did you
with
watch
us.
Extraction yet, by the way?
No.
Are you going to?
I'm going to give it a try, yeah, definitely now.
By the way, Adrian, given movie recommendations, Adrian's favourite movie, believe it or not, Michelle, is Miss Congeniality.
Great old film.
Stop.
Great old film, yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. There you are. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. Anyway, Michelle, tell us about your blonde moment.
So I did honours art when I did my Leaving Cert back in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in class one day and we were talking about Michelangelo, and I had thought that Michelangelo, the chapel was called the 16th chapel and not the Sistine chapel. So there's 15 others. 15 others. Yeah.
Well, there is a lot of chapels.
Couple of Nixers
in Italy, isn't there?
It's called the Sistine Chapel, not the 16th Chapel.
Not the 16th,
exactly,
I got that now. So.
All right, good. Michelle, thanks very much, Lee, for your blonde moment. I'm sorry, Jeremy, you're being completely outvoted here. Extraction, the biggest load of rubbish I've ever watched.
Extraction, I'm just looking up here, by the way. Extraction was the most watched movie ever.
That doesn't make it good.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
It's the most watched movie ever on Netflix. Well, here, you think that programme Normal People is good. That is a bore fest.
I didn't say it was that good. I said it was well produced.
It's like watching paint dry.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be for me now, I have to be honest.
It's like watching paint dry naked. That's what their programme is.
Linda sent us this WhatsApp voice note about a blonde moment.
Hi, lads. My blonde moment is... Now, I'm kind of blaming it on me sat-nav as well. But before the lockdown, I decided we go from Roscommon to Sligo up to Strandhill Beach. Went up, had a look around, let the little boy have a run around, etc. Coming home, heading back to Roscommon by sat-nav, I ended up in Derry. Now, that is a real blonde moment.
But Derry's a completely different direction.
Thanks, bye.
It is totally the opposite direction. Like, did she not spot that she was driving through County Donegal, up to Derry?
And there's loads of signs as well, isn't there?
Well, there would be a sign on the road saying, Derry, this direction. No, that's a blonde moment.
Here, listen to this, Adrian, this text from John. He says, my mate who I went to school with, during transition year, we had to meet our guidance counsellor teacher. Or remember those?
Yeah, but they still exist, Jeremy. They still exist.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yep.
To discuss with us our futures, my mate went into the guidance counsellor, and the guidance counsellor said, I think the best thing for you to do after school will be to do an arts degree. He turned around with a straight face and said, but I'm crap at drawing. No, I used to think an arts degree was about drawing as well.
I did myself.
I did.
Yeah, I did myself.
It's nothing to do with drawing, sure it's not.
No, generally not, no.
But they generally hand those out in selection boxes and cornflakes boxes, don't they? Arts degrees.
What is your blonde moment? Call me right now on 6797981. You can also text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Now, you can't ring us on that number. You can only send a WhatsApp to that number, okay? It's not an active phone line per se. So 0877 98 98 98 for texts or WhatsApps. Or if you want to call us and share with us your blonde moment, call us on 679 981. Now, Chantel, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Chantel.
Hiya.
How are you?
I'm good.
Tell us about your blonde moment.
Oh, well, so I'm from South Africa, and I used to commute to work. Every time I'm in Connolly, there's a train that says the train is going to Terminatus. So for months, I thought, oh, that's a funny Irish name for a town. That's Schwiller. So I asked my colleagues one day, I said to them, so where's Terminatus? And they said, what? I said, no, when you're in Connolly, the train, the little sign on the train says the train is going to Terminatus. And then they told me, no, the train terminates in Connolly.
Yes, there is no such place. That's a blonde moment, all right, Chantel. Thank you. Where's that lovely accent from? That's from South Africa, is it?
Yeah, it is.
You stand
That's
out
a lost in translation thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is, absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Chantel. Sharon sent us this blonde moment.
Lads, blonde moments. Seriously, yesterday I was after having my son at a hospital appointment and was in O'Connell Street coming home and standing outside McDonald's, and there's a screen there. They were making pizzas and burgers and stuff. And then I just happened to be looking towards that screen and I saw two policemen walking towards me. And I thought nothing of it. And then I happened to turn around the opposite direction, saw another two policemen walking towards me, the opposite direction. And I looked and I said to my son, there's four policemen out at the same time. God, you never see that. It actually wasn't four policemen out at the same time. It was the reflection of the two policemen in the window walking towards me. Well, that's a pure blonde moment, lads, seriously. All I could do was stand there and laugh.
Oh, that's very funny.
It just shows the McDonald's windows are obviously very clean.
They're spotlessly clean.
Very clean.
Marion, tell us about your blonde moment.
Okay, guys. It was when I was very young. I'm rather old now. And I was entering a competition in a newspaper. I was only about 10 at the time.
Okay.
And one of the rules was to write on one side of the paper only. And I'm very literal. So I drew a line in the middle of the page lengthways down, and I wrote on the left-hand side of the page only. And it was only when I was about 55 I actually realised that it meant I shouldn't have turned the page over. That's my little blonde moment.
That's brilliant, Marion.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You have a good day too. Darren, you're on 98 FM. Darren, tell us about your blonde moment, please.
Well, it wasn't mine, it was my wife.
Yeah, always. It's so easy for us to throw aspersions at other people, but go on anyway.
We were out shopping there last year and clothes shopping for ourselves. And she was trying on items, as you do, and she comes out of the changing rooms and she goes to me, doesn't that look tight on me, doesn't it? And I said, it's a bit big looking. And she goes, yeah, even for me it's a bit big. And the girl that walked behind the till, real posh, madam, that is not a boob tube, that is a mini skirt you have around your chest. Well, I can tell you, it's just the laughing was just amazing. Even today, we just laugh about it.
That's a great story as well. Thank you very much, Darren. And finally, Kerry, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Kerry.
Hi, I'm
Kerry,
good.
tell us about your blonde moment.
So, happens quite often, but this one I can remember because I'm slagged about quite often. I was watching 12 Years a Slave with my boyfriend, and halfway through the film, I turned around and said, "How long was he a slave for?" And he just looked at me. He was like, "What's the name of the film?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kerry. I can see why that embarrasses you.
Did you see Extraction, Kerry?
Yeah.
Did you see
it
it?
happens often.
Did you see Extraction?
Yeah.
Any good?
Yeah. No story.
No story.
There doesn't need to be a story.
No.
Obviously, it's not going to win any Oscars if there's no story to it.
Definitely not.
And I have to say, just from the messages coming in, 50-50 on Extraction, Jeremy, as to whether it's good or not. Let's just squeeze in a couple more. This is from Sue.
Jeremy, thank you. I am definitely going to watch that tonight. We've been hemming and hawing about it for a while. You just made up my mind, so thank you. I would have a million blonde moments, but there's no. Like, the amount of blonde moments in my house is absolutely colossal.
Thank you very much indeed, Sue. There you go. They are your blonde moments. And Extraction, if you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't, you don't. But I'm going to take your recommendation, Jeremy. I'm going to watch it tonight.
Well, if you think Miss Congeniality is the Oscar-winning movie of all time, you will love Extraction.
Right, okay. Thanks very much indeed. That's it from us for today. We're back again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. If you want to get in contact with us with anything you'd like to talk about on this programme, which is here for you every day of the week to deal with everything and anything to do with Dublin and the lives that we're currently living due to COVID-19, contact us, send us an email to dublintalks@98fm.com. Have a good Wednesday. See you tomorrow morning at 10. Barry Dunn is next. In the next hour, he's got some great music lined up like these.
Why don't you say so? 98 FM.